Hello and welcome to Fair Rugby on Fair Sports. And the Griquas have just recorded a bonus point victory against a very inexperienced Cheetahs side. They're in Tafelberg Park in Kimberley. A really, really nice start to the Currie Cup, actually, because it really does blow open the log at the moment. You know, the Cheetahs, the only side at the moment without a victory. The Pumas, beating the Lions, going down to the Bulls. There's been actually bonus point victories for pretty much every single team that's played so far this tournament. So it's actually been a really, really interesting watch. And today, Cheetahs side that we're missing a lot of big names, a lot of debutants. The entire bench is full of debutants for the Cheetahs, and so they were the underdogs. And the Griquas had to hang in. They had to sort of settle down a little bit. It took a while to get going. It really was a game of two halves, as the old sort of saying goes. But we're very deserved victors. Before we break the game down itself, look at who scored and stuff like that, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 1800, so please do hit that subscribe button right now. But it was quite a messy first half. So if you look at the game itself, the first points of the game, George Whitehead missed a penalty in the 23rd minute, but the first points of the game came in the 29th minute via the boot of Ruan Pino, who kicked a penalty goal. And it was a case of some very good moments being capped off with some very bad moments. Often we saw one team going from one end to the other, some really nice, exciting enterprise play, and then just sort of knocking it on or conceding a penalty. So it was almost sloppy in that it was close to being good, and then just a couple of poor mistakes. Just not a lot of composure by the try, and I think that's probably where they sort of fell down a little bit. Did both sides? Both sides were guilty of doing it, where they had opportunities to try and make and get some points, but they couldn't really take them. And for the Cheetahs, I was actually quite impressed with how they started the game, because as I said, with so many inexperienced players, they were fronting up relatively well. The scrums were going pretty well, and they seemed to actually be sort of rising to it. But the Griquas, they kind of needed to just sort of hang in there. And they eventually did. Masakole Banda went over in the 38th minute, just before half time. Completely set up by Edwin Cater after some very nice hands from the Griquas. Edwin Cater, I think, was probably my man of the match. He was very good. He was everywhere. He created a lot, scored a try as well. He played very nicely, but he ran a very nice gap and then drew the man in and went out to Masakole Banda, who then went over the try line, and George Whitehead nailed the conversion to make it 6-3 at half-time. So half-time, Cheetahs very much in the game. The game's still a bit on the balance, could have gone either way. But the Griquas started the second half with a bang, as Gideon van Wyk the Cheetahs started the second half with a bang, as Gideon van Wyk, the former SA Schools player, went over in the 46th minute. A very nice try from the Cheetahs. Ruan Pino added the extras. And a couple of changes before JC Nell on debut for the Griquas just made his move there now. He went over in the 53rd minute to make it 12-10, and then George White added the extras. And it was still pretty close before Zwanele Zito then kind of sort of made the big blow. He went over in the 66th minute, making it 19-10. Suddenly it was quite a big mountain to climb for the Cheetahs. George Whitehead added the extras. They then won a penalty in the 72nd minute, which they decided to kick over as well by the route of George Whitehead to make it 24-10. And with the Cheetahs trying to sort of find a way back into trying to find a try, a bit of a sort of a 50-50 pass was thrown out wide, and Edwin Cater read it like a book. He ran onto that in the 73rd minute, scoring an intercept try. The conversion was no issue in the 74th minute, and that's what kind of made it 31 points to 10. So a bonus point victory for the Griquas. They go up to 5 points. For the Cheetahs, they leave with nothing. A lot of experience there. As I said, it was a very, very inexperienced side. And if we look at the stats, it's a game of the Cheetahs having the opportunity, having the possession, but just not being able to do anything with it. If you look at the possessions, 58% for the Cheetahs compared to 42% from the Griquas. So it's just a case of the Griquas taking their chances. 62% territory compared to 38%. So the Cheetahs had the opportunities there. They spent a lot of time in the Griquas half, but some very, very nice Griquas defense, and the Griquas just made their chances count. They scored 4 tries to the 1 from the Cheetahs. The Griquas ran 462 meters compared to the Cheetahs 316. They beat one more defender, 19-18. They had 3 more clean breaks, 7-4. Gainline carries, Cheetahs had more, 74 compared to 49. A lot more passes from the Cheetahs, a lot more offloads as well. 11 turnovers, 1 from the Griquas. And that's why I'm sort of talking about the fact that the Cheetahs couldn't sort of make a count. Often they'd go through quite a few phases, or they'd make a really good break, and then they'd lose the ball, and the ball would be turned over. 11 turnovers is a very, very big problem for the Cheetahs, and I think they probably want to work on that breakdown compared to the 6 that they won. Kicking was much of a muchness. But we go look at the defense, and this is kind of why the Cheetahs were asked to make 64 tackles and only made 45 of them, a 70% tackle success rate. That's not good enough. The Griquas, on the other hand, were asked to make 120 and made 102 tackles and 85% success rate. So it was the Griquas defense which carried them. To miss 18 tackles, it's not great, but to have made 102 is a very, very good stat. Ruck success rate 93% for the Griquas, 95% for the Cheetahs. Lineouts weren't great for either side, to be honest. I mean, the Griquas lost 4 lineouts. The Cheetahs lost 1, so 94% for them. And the scrums, they were both 100% for both of them. Penalties conceded, there were 12 penalties conceded by the Griquas compared to 10 of the Cheetahs. There was also a yellow card to the Griquas, so that's worth noting. But the Cheetahs, as I said, just couldn't make anything count. I mean, so when Harnu Sirjul went off in the first half, Cheetahs managed to get 3 points, but that was it. So even when the Griquas were a man down, they still managed to hold the Cheetahs at bay. So I was very impressed with the Griquas. I'd say that it's a hard side. It's a tough nut to crack up there in Kimberley. It's always a tough place to go and play rugby, and the Griquas once again showing today why that is the case. For the Griquas, I thought Edwin Keita, as I said, had a very, very nice game. He's a very good finisher. He ran a whopping 172 meters, 2 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, 1 offload, a try assist, as well as a try. He also made 5 tackles and 1 a turnover. He was everywhere for the Griquas. Gideon van der Merwe had a bit of a concussion test, so wasn't as involved as he'd like to be, but he still managed to make 11 tackles, winning 2 turnovers as well. Just the 2 carries from him, though. For the Cheetahs, Jacques Paul Kita, as you can imagine, was pretty much the sort of the center of the attack. He made 10 carries, a whopping 12 tackles, 2 missed tackles, a turnover, 1. He was very impressive in a losing effort, and I just think that it kind of shows you the sort of between the you talk about boys and men, and you can just see people who have been at this level, they've been playing at this level, and they're ready to play for this level. A couple of the Cheetahs players, they're very green, very new to the competition. It'll take a while for them to sort of to settle down. But I think that Harvey's Free will sit there and think that the scoreline doesn't really reflect the game. They had the opportunities, but they couldn't really break down the Griquas defense. For another day, another pass sticks and stuff like that, and they score. That intercept try doesn't go to hand. Maybe they score a try from that. And it's amazing how rugby can turn over. But they were outplayed, and just in terms of how much the Griquas wanted to win that match. They were rugged in defense. They were very, very solid. So I was impressed. I said I'm very impressed with what the Griquas are doing. And I think, as I said, it's a very difficult place to go and play in Kimberley. And this is a warning, because I thought they were pretty good against the Sharks last week. I mean, they did lose by a bonus point, and I think it was about 14 points they lost by. But when they had their opportunities, they looked pretty bright. And I'm hoping that we're in for quite a good Currie Cup, because we've seen a lot of points being scored. We're seeing the underdogs, the likes of Pumas and Griquas, they're playing good rugby. It looks like the gap between teams is starting to close a little bit, largely because we're missing a lot of Springboks. But that does make for a nice spectacle, because we get to see very close games and nice rugby being played. So it was a bit scrappy at times, this game. It wasn't probably the best part out. I think last night was probably one of the best Currie Cup games I've seen in the recent years between the Pumas and the Bulls. Both sides playing very nice rugby, not making too many mistakes. Today there's a lot more handling errors, a lot more set pieces, so it wasn't quite as clean, but it was still a decent watch. And credit to the Griquas. It's always, as I said, it's tough going to Kimberley, and the reason for it is because they're so ready to have, they will welcome anybody into that den. It is becoming a bit of a den for them. You don't want to go and play in Kimberley, and you can see why. Let me know what you thought of the game down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel. It's the last Currie Cup game for the weekend. We'll be back live on Wednesday for 2 Currie Cup encounters, so make sure you come and hang out with us then. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you guys all soon.